International Black Film Festival, and Danny Glover gave a press conference today, speaking a lot about the need for other kinds of stories, other films, other people's stories. And tonight they're presenting his film Chasing Shakespeare, which he's actor in, directed not by him but by another individual who we will actually be interviewing later. And yes, here we are at the International Black Film Festival in Montreal. Thank you.
We have a really lovely film I hear that I haven't seen yet. Norry, the director, I'm very excited about seeing that. So I'm supporting the festival with the film, which is the most important thing. The more more often we support these extraordinary moments where we celebrate humanity, people's humanity. You know, whether I don't care if it's the Chinese Film Festival or whether it's the Palestinian Film Festival, the Jewish Film Festival, or whatever festival we can celebrate people's humanity, or the Native American Film Festival, then we do that. You know, and so I'm supporting that first of all. The humanitarian award is really, a testimony to the moment that I've lived in and the opportunity that I've had to meet extraordinary people doing work beyond, beyond their capacity, try to make changes in the world, and support that and to celebrate that. So I'm simply doing that. I don't actually do that work that people do in communities around the world, in communities, this country, my country, and other places, changing, whether it's work with women, whether it's work with children, whether it's all those kind of things that happen in civil society and in the public sphere that happen to support that. So I think that it's a testimony to also, I think, in my belief in all the possibilities we have here in making a better world and exploring the new adventure, historical complexities around language, identity, and all those are all beautiful things, people try to work out. Since history is dynamic and culture and everything is dynamic, why not here? I think an award represents a moment where we not only celebrate the collective efforts of people, and that's all about. I don't do anything by myself. That's too ludicrous, I think the fact that it's a collective effort of people in many places that brought this about, and we're fortunate enough to have a career which, in a sense, I had the opportunity to say the things that I believe in and talk about the things that are important to me, and say to the world, this is whose side of the world I'm on and what's important. What imagination when people who are in a constant battle in defining who they are, and African Americans and Native Americans are, to embrace the idea of wanting to be Julia and to think about Shakespeare and to have used Shakespeare as a platform of expression and extending their own humanity. What beautiful words.
Last photo, guys, avec...
Oui, just a club. What's up tonight, Daddy?
You do too.
Look at me, please.
Thank you. All right.
Nice. Now we're going to go to meet the cast.
I'm a news person, and so in the context of what we've been living here in Quebec and in Montreal over the past few weeks, you can't turn on your television to go, I hope, or open a newspaper without hearing stories, and often really kind of frightening stories about tensions between cultural communities. I think we just have to stop and pause and think for a moment and breathe and ask ourselves, what are we so afraid of? We really need to open up the dialogue. It's critical, particularly at this point. And can you believe that it's happening in 2013? And this is why festivals like this are so incredibly important to society. Do you agree? I hope you agree. This festival so admirably opens that dialogue. Fabienne Colas and her team have put together an incredible collection of films, more than 100 of them that we're going to be seeing over the next 12 days, that open our minds and open our hearts hearts to each other. The goal, I think, for Fabienne is to inspire us, but also to start that dialogue. Let's talk. Let's discuss stuff. And what better way, of course, to open that dialogue than with a little bit of pure poetry on the screen with our opening film tonight. We're so excited to have the premiere of Shakespeare. And after I spoke with the director a few minutes ago, I'm even more excited. We're going to talk a lot about the movie, but it's been billed as a film by a white director about a love story between a black man and a Native American woman. And if that doesn't shake up your cultural stereotypes, well, I don't think anything will at this point. We're so pleased to have Norry Niven with us tonight. He's going to speak a little bit later, and when you hear him talk about his film, I think you'll fall in love with it as I did for the 5 minutes that I spoke to him. As well, I mentioned Tentu Cardinal, and Mike Wade is here as well. We saw him getting out of his limo earlier, and that was super exciting. And we're also here tonight, of course, to pay tribute to one of the other stars of the film, Danny Glover. I hope all of you had a chance to meet him. I think that you all know him as an actor, most famously, of course, for the Weapon franchise and In the Color Purple. But you might be surprised by the Danny Glover that you get to meet tonight. I had a little preview earlier today. I got to speak with him one-on-one, and I'll tell you just a sneak peek of 2 things. He is a man who is supremely passionate about movies, particularly independent movies, and also about his 10-year-old grandson who got a kick last night. So he likes to talk about that. He's a really fascinating man, and Fabienne is going to tell you a little bit more about him in a few minutes. But I'm going to start tonight by introducing a woman who is very dear to my heart. She's my boss and my extremely good friend. She's the news director and station manager of Global Montreal, and she's here to tell you why we get involved with this festival every year. Ladies and gentlemen, Karen McDonald.
Thank you very much, Jamie. Bonsoir à tous, esteemed guests, award recipients, friends of the festival, bonsoir. Il me fait vraiment plaisir d'être parmi vous ce soir. Global Montreal et Shaw Communications sont très fiers de notre partenariat avec le Festival international de film black de Montréal depuis maintenant 4 ans. We've always been so happy to support this festival because it allows Montreal movie fans to see films from around the world that would never make their way here otherwise. And I would like to personally congratulate the organizing team for putting together such a varied and interesting schedule of screenings and events. Félicitations à Fabienne Collard et Emile Castonguay et toute votre équipe. Bravo! Through the films that the festival represents, and the people it honors, the festival pays tribute to storytellers around the world who are unveiling truths and making a difference. We salute the courage, conviction, and the efforts of the filmmakers participating in this festival to succeed in making their movies. This festival celebrates our diversity, not only here in Quebec, but throughout the world. We're filled with praise and appreciation for these artists who are helping to change the way we all see our planet. And we do have to talk about it, as Jamie just said. Alors, nous vous invitons à découvrir la richesse et la diversité des nombreux films qui font du festival de cette année la meilleure édition jamais présentée, j'en suis certaine. We're sure this year's festival will be the best one ever. Bon cinéma à tous.
Thank you, Karen. Yeah, she's right. I think it is going to be the best festival ever, especially with this terrific opening night. 9 years ago, there was a lady who had a vision for a film festival, and I think even early on, she wanted it to be about more than just movies. Fabienne Collard, if you've ever met her, wants to inspire. It's in her entire spirit. I mean, everyone and anyone in the arts community in this city knows her and knows that Fabienne is a tour de force. She's passionate about film, clearly, but not just film. It's the second year in a row that Fabienne has showcased film and humanity. Last year, the great Harry Belafonte was awarded the first humanitarian award. It was a phenomenal evening, and this year followed up guys, ladies and gentlemen, years from now, the Montreal Black Film Festival is presenting an award like this to Fabien Palas, a humanitarian award for creating not just this festival, but the dialogue that gets us all talking and communicating that we're discussing tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Fabien Palas, the president of the Montreal International Black Film Festival.
Oops. Thank you, Jane, for such a beautiful introduction. Thank you. We're very happy to have Jamie tonight as a host for the festival. Thank you, Jamie. Monsieur les corps consulaires, messieurs les députés dans la salle, j'ai la représentante, mesdames et messieurs la représentante des communautés autochtones. Nous avons la chance d'avoir le grand chef Picard dans la salle, Justin Picard. Distingués invités, chers amis, the Montreal International Black Film Festival is tonight 9 years old, and 9 years in the life of a festival like this feels like an eternity. And thank God, we've been having a powerful partner with us for the last 4 years. And may I say thank you to Global Montreal that embarked with us on this tremendous journey. And now we're just moving forward. Thank you to Global Montreal. On ne serait pas ici aujourd'hui à fêter nos 9 ans si vous n'avez pas été là avec nous depuis le début. Alors je prends le temps de vous dire avec tout mon cœur, merci beaucoup de non seulement venir acheter vos billets et de répandre la bonne nouvelle à chaque fois pour que le festival puisse grandir d'année en année. Donc merci à vous les fans, merci à vous les cinéphiles, c'est vraiment un honneur de vous avoir. Vous savez, 2013 is a very symbolic year for the festival because it is the 50th anniversary of Dr. King's speech, I Have a Dream. And it also coincidentally marks the second terms of the first African-American president. You know? So c'est comme une boucle qui est bien bouclée. Et c'est dans ce contexte que nous sommes en train de célébrer notre 9e édition et de recevoir des gens comme Danny Glover. So my job here tonight is to read 10 pages of Danny Glover's extraordinary journey. So I don't think it's a good idea, nobody's laughing for that. So my team anticipated that moment. So they have been putting together a little clip that you're going to be able to watch so you can have a little glimpse of who Danny Glover is really. I know everybody knows Danny Glover from all those beautiful films. I mean, he's been playing in more than 60 films. Mais c'est rien du tout à côté de tout le travail de Danny Glover en dehors du cinéma, en dehors de l'écran. Et ce soir, c'est cet aspect qui nous intéresse. Nous voulons lui remettre un prix ce soir pour tout ce qu'il fait, les efforts qu'il fait pour aider les sans-voix, aider ceux qui ont vraiment besoin d'avoir une plateforme. Mais avant de vous présenter ce prix, on peut ensemble regarder quelques clips. Ladies and gentlemen, Monsieur Danny Glover.
Thank you from everyone, from the audience to the organizers of this great event here at Montreal International Film Festival. It's funny when you kind of reflect on your life through looking at moments, particular moments that you remember, and transforming moments. And really, in realizing those moments, you in some sense, replay your dreams, your aspirations. I happen to be born 67 years ago, at a great moment in human history. A moment where men and women, in a heroic way, fought for peace and justice. Moments when nations were realized through decolonization. Moments when women's rights and women's movements for greater access to women began to expand. Movements for farm workers, primarily Hispanic farm workers, began to flourish under great leadership. And one of the things that I think gave a great number of us at those moments, men like Harry Belafonte, women like Ruby Dee, and Ozzie Davis and others, gave them a great voice to shape and to tell the stories of that moment, those moments, was the fact that people were active, engaged. Young people were active, engaged. Young people saw themselves as the architects of change. They saw a different vision. I would hope, as I move through this next phase of my life, that young people step to the table as artists, as filmmakers, as visual artists, as mothers, as fathers, as teachers, as professionals, to realize the importance of their moment in history right now. That their moment in history is more critical than any moment in world history. It's been essentially 150 years of a system of exploitation that cannot and must not go further. Whether it's the Keystone Pipeline, exploit the very fragile nature of the ecosystem, it cannot go any further. It's a moment of exploitation of Mother Earth that, if it's not reversed, the possible existence of humankind is in jeopardy, as well as all other species. There's a moment right now when the world has become poor, that the resources of the world, even those resources which are in the common space or the public space, those resources are handed or owned and determined by a few people, while many others are destined for poverty and starvation. It's a moment that cannot continue to exist. It's unsustainable. And it's going to be young people who have to rise to the table and do as others have done in their historic moment. As Paul Robeson said, each generation makes its own history, and they're judged by the history they made. So the history that's made in those moments are the histories that are going to define my grandson, who's 10 years old, and I look at these pictures of me and I see how remarkably he looks a little bit like me. Or your grandchildren, or your children, right now. And the time is now. Films have a way of translating and recalibrating the narrative. And the narrative has to change. It's imperative that it's changed. I want to thank you once again for this award, because it only, in some sense, reflects this moment. The work that we do beyond, the work that is carried on beyond, is the moment that we will celebrate, and hopefully, that in all earnest, that the world that we celebrate is a better world for all. As the World Social Forum, which is often held in Latin America and other places, that we have to find a way to work, to have the planet work for all of us, not just for few, not for those who are privileged, but for all humanity and all of the species. Thank you.
We have a treat of a movie to kick things off for you tonight. It's billed as a love story between a black man and a Native American woman in rural Arkansas. And I spoke with the director a little earlier, and he said to me, it's billed like that, and that's what people talk about, and that's sort of the way things are promoted. But he said, you forget that in the first 5 minutes of the film. It's a love story. And he'll tell you more about it in a moment, but I just want to show you a tidbit that he said to me that got me so excited about seeing this movie tonight in its Canadian premiere. He said that the whole time that he was directing this movie, he was thinking about that moment in your life, and I hope that you've all had this moment, where you give birth to a child, or you truly fall in love, and you're so overjoyed that you have tears in your eyes. Has everybody experienced a moment like that? I wish that for all of you, because I have, and it's one of those moments you never forget. Well, he said he had that in mind as he was creating this hour 45 minutes, and then he hoped that by the ending we would all share that experience commonly here in the room tonight. So that is what I'm looking forward to. But he's going to tell you more about it, so I'm bringing him right now, ladies and gentlemen, the director of Chasing Shakespeare, Norry Niven.
Wow, how do I follow this? This is amazing. Amazing speech, Danny. Thank you so much. And fabulous introduction. I prepared a speech in French, but my French is not so great. So we are thrilled as filmmakers to be a part of this festival, and I have to say that Montreal International Film Festival is so amazingly put together and so thoughtfully put together, and it represents so many amazing things that we believe true in our hearts. And the film, I hope you experience it, and I hope you see it again, because I've seen it, 100 times probably, and I love it more every time. My wife and I we'll be cleaning house, and I'll be, quality controlling the film, and I'll look across and she'll be crying like, yeah, me too, it's all good. So it's made to be enjoyed. It's like a spiritual well that you can go to with fresh water that re-energizes you. And James Bird's amazing screenplay that the actors fell in love with, and Danny did. I'll never forget the night that I got word that he loved the project and wanted to do the film. It was like our firstborn, son, the same feeling. I was like, it's great. He loved it, so it's going to be amazing. And we could have done it without all the amazing artists that collaborated, every actor, every professional, every crew member, Eric K, who was here tonight as well, the editor, the special effects teams, everyone just poured themselves into this and went way beyond what I expected. And they brought something to each one of them. And you'll feel that in the film. It's just like anything made with love, whether it's an amazing meal or a painting, you'll feel that in the film. And I'm so excited that you're here tonight. Thank you so much. We're so humbled to be a part of this festival. Thank you for everything.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to mention the other actors in the room. I think I mentioned it earlier, but Tantu Cardinal is here. Night May as well as a round of applause for both of your own team on stage. And so Norry Niven, Tantu Cardinal, Night May, Danny Glover, all here tonight. They will be here at the end of the movie to answer your questions about it, so that's pretty exciting as well. Are you ready for a movie? Why not? Enjoy Chasing Shakespeare and Bon Festival tout le monde.
I've been doing this work for 43 years now, and it's been a very personal thing to know that the Thunder Beings love this work, and it's exasperating for filmmakers sometimes because the clouds keep coming around, but they do love this work, and they're called the Thunder Beings, and they're very alive in their character, and they're part of life, and so I appreciated that being brought into the story. So that's a deep, deep love, and the love of knowing that there are many people that have First Nations blood. Many, many more people than talk about it, than know about it even, have First Nations blood. And that goes through the energy fields. Whether you're aware of it or not, once you have First Nations ancestors, you always have First Nations ancestors. They're part of your angel force. And that's also the love that was there, and that I could feel and work with. And those things, it's hard to put words to it, but it was fun.
I just want to mention that Cardinal's son is in school here in Montreal, right? He's in theater school.
Is he in the theater?
Is he in theater? He's following in his mother's footsteps and he's using our city.
Who's the guy under the seat?
Oh, we have another question?
Yes. I would like to say that the movie was really wonderful, though it was really eclectic. It means to be the union between nature and human being. We want to see more production like this. And my question to Mr. Glover, you are a versatile artist and a great, beautiful human being. I would like to ask you, how do you feel about watching this movie tonight again?
This is one of the rare occasions that I watch myself. I think I told Norry that I don't watch my movies because everything that I want from the movie, it happens in the process of shooting it. And but I just found myself just taken and just moved. The film to me, and this is not to embellish, it was just seemed to be transcending. And I'm glad you brought that but yeah, I mean, I still kind of, you know, the things you watch, you know, and I remember when I did the first Lethal Weapon, like I was like 39 years old, and I was playing 50, and I tried to move like I was 50 years old. And and I remember the director saying, "Boy, you sure seem like you're moving really old." And then I said, "Oh yeah," in the middle of the scene, I broke out in a sprint and ran past Mel. But I was looking at this and I said, "Boy, I really do move slow." I don't have to pretend. It's the little things that you come up with that. And I know it sounds silly in some sense. It's the little things, that's why you don't watch your stuff. You don't watch your stuff. It's because you really look at yourself and say, "Boy, I really do. I am there, right there. Not pretending anymore, I am." You know?
Thank you.
But it's beautiful too. Let me get serious here.
I know there are other questions, but I'd like to get Mr. Wade in on this. And Mike, you were so beautiful on screen, I have to tell you. Not just the shirt, the whole thing. You are a spectacular movie actor, honestly. I really think the character was amazing, and I mean, playing a young Danny Glover, how cool is that?
Yeah, that was very cool.
He can move, Mr. Glover, still.
As you can see, I got a growth spurt. I love it tall, so that's good. Looking forward to that.
But tell me what the experience for you of this film and what it was like for you to be part of this and to work with this cast and crew.
For me, it was, it was just as close to perfect as it could be. You know, it's kind of like a dream because, as I said at the press conference earlier, you know, I was the new guy. You got veteran actors and Chelsea Ricketts, you know, she's been in some things, but I'm not too long out of acting school and doing smaller budget short films and smaller budget feature films, so it just all kind of came together into, you know, I don't really believe in luck, but I believe in great fortune, and I'm just really, really fortunate to work on a project that I care so passionately about. You know, when I read the script, I was like, wow, this is just amazing. You know, we talked about the relationship between indigenous people and between African American people. But also there's a universal thing of just life, you know, and love. And Danny and Tantu talked about drawing from your own personal experience. And there's a lot of William in me, especially when I was younger, you know. So, yeah, I use my imagination in some places, but a lot of it just really naturally came from me. Some of those same experiences I've had, and that's good and bad. So.
Came across on screen. I think we're going to see you in a lot of big productions after that.
I just want to say one more thing to Mr. Glover, because I know I'm one of the founders of Bookman Experience from Haiti, and Lataï, a group named Lataï. And I know you really like that group, and I will, on behalf of all the members of Lataï and Bookman Experience, I will tell you that Haiti love you very much.
First of all, thank you very much for the amazing event tonight.
You can't help fandom. It's lovely.
Congratulations. It's an event, an incredible cast, and a really nice film. And I have a question for you, Mr. Glover. Me, myself, I'm Well, my question is, like, through all the work experience that you've had, mainly, as a social activist looking to seeking for change, what has been, like, the challenges that you have had towards seeking this change, and how have you managed to overcome, like, these challenges?
Well, I guess in some sense that at this stage in my life, we're able to go back a little bit and reflect on not only what has happened in front of the camera with me, but also the things that I've tried to be of service to. And so sometimes that's one thing, to go back and to kind of think about those particular things. I find myself doing to some degree, but also what I do is I find myself looking forward. And I think most of the things, the way in which I approach whatever is happening, is that I feel that I'm still growing and still learning, and hopefully, God willing, able to listen still, and listen to the voices, to voices of people. And I think in that sense, one of the things, they say that you come at youth, wisdom is wasted on the youth, And so I think that one of the things that has served us to me is to begin to feel that I'm still growing and learning, and to feel that I understand the world a little bit better. Not that I have any answers, but understand what is happening, and to be able to take all those things into consideration. This, in my comments upon receiving the humanitarian award, I talked about Mother Earth, the planet, and how we must nurture. The first people think about 7 generations, in that sense. What is the planet going to look like 7 generations from where they are? But more than anything else, this is a conversation that I would have been able to discuss and talk about maybe in 20. And fortunately for you, who are young, you can talk about it. You can make an imprint on your the own relationship that you have with the earth itself. When I talked about us being alienated from the land, and the process to divorce ourselves from the land and nature.
There's only one more question. I see 3 people there, so if we could try to keep it brief, would that be okay? Because I know you guys have...
The problem is my answers are long.
Yeah, but you're fascinating, so that's okay. We can listen to you, but it's just for timing for people. So can we take 3 and just keep it brief, or is that... Yeah, last 3, okay guys? And we're going to try to keep it brief, so we'll start over here.
Hi, thank you once again for everything. It was really a beautiful performance. More than once I was tearing up. It's truly a love story. And I want to also commend Mr. Wade for your character and Venus's character's portrayal of young love. There's such strong charisma between the two of you, and it really shows through on stage. But my question is actually directed to Mr. Niven in terms of this theme that you see a lot of the relationship between father and son. I saw that a lot there's this tension, and I was wondering if you could comment on that.
Yeah, all of that's necessary for Ricky and for his father, for William, in that the subtext is about eternal life, and without him arcing, without him having an epiphany at the very end of the film, we wouldn't really get Ricky. But because of that, we suddenly connect the dots, and as he connects the dots and realizes there was real magic. We all have a matriarch, a woman in our family who we believe is magic, right? There's some one person in the family that we know can control the outcome of
and that's legitimate. He's worried for his safety. I just want to real quick point out James Byrd. Without James Byrd's screenplay, none of this is possible. James. Executive producer as well. Thank you very much.
Okay, question over here.
Yeah, so the guy who went before me literally stole my question, but I managed to come up with a new one. First of all, I want to just thank you guys for showing us the value in culture and really bringing that forward in your video. This one's for you, Danny. So in the process that you're talking about in eventually coming to connect with nature and realizing that we're all one big family, and I just want to know what is your opinion on the role that community plays in becoming closer to nature and to Mother Earth?
You're asking the question, that question, the role that community plays.
Exactly.
I mean, it is ultimately about community and building and reimagining communities. I mean, that's constant in some sense, and it's a testimony to the human experience. It's something that happened. It's a very interesting phenomenon. There's a writer named Jerry Rifkin. He wrote a book called The End of Work. And he wrote this about 20 years ago. And he mentioned in one chapter when he talked about labor and work in African Americans. And he said that African Americans were not free from the land by the Emancipation Proclamation, which is this year's 150 years ago. They were free because of the invention of the cotton picking machine. Now that sounds kind of preposterous, but in 1944, 100% of the cotton was picked by hand. By 1969, 100% of the cotton was picked by a machine. More than 5 million African Americans left the South, came north, and had settled in the projects and all the other places that we refer to as ghettos, in the cities and everything else. And when they came, they created another community amongst the concrete. And the beauty of the human spirit is that at some point they reimagine themselves and recreate themselves. I've been spending a great deal of time over the last decade off and on in Detroit. And in Detroit, the home of modern industry, first highways, cars, automobiles, Detroit. One of the biggest movements around urban gardening, community gardening in this country is happening in Detroit. People from around the world come to Detroit to look at the kind of work that they've been doing around urban gardening. And the ideas around education, ideas around place-based education, new imaginative ways of looking at education, and often different ways of looking at community and the responsibility that small entrepreneurs and businesses have to the community. All those are coming out of a factory town. Now, what impact that has, ultimately, is just a small template, a small example in a vast sea. But what are the possibilities that grow from that and reimagining in our relationship to nature, even amongst the concrete, is pretty profound. And I think on the one hand, if we're going to service who we can be and as human beings and how we recreate our relationship to each other and who we are in the world, then it's going to have to be in some way where we're going to have to sit down, take pause, and begin to think of ways in which we nourish the sensibilities in our heart, our soul, used by the great, probably for me, one of the greatest man of the 20th century, Martin Luther King Jr., creating the beloved community.
last question. We could listen to him talk all night here. One more question.
Beautiful screenplay. Obviously, I couldn't agree more with love is the energy, love is the light, because we as a human species are wired for love, kindness, and compassion. We need to connect with each other, and basically what we want is we want to love and be loved, and I think that's what we like. So my question is for the director. Midpoint in the movie, the scene where Venus and William are on the roof, and Venus wants to go to New York. William has to stay to take care of his father, and Venus is about to jump off the roof, and suddenly it's the wind that brings her back on the roof. And I was just wondering, why isn't it the light that brought her back on the roof? And one more question is, how much was the budget for the production? Thank you.
I'll start with that. We're still spending money, so the budget's not quite done yet. The visual story is all about thresholds. And on the hero's journey that Joseph Campbell wrote about, the hero has to start. They don't have to leave. They don't have to cross the threshold. They can stay behind and age and become an old king who doesn't act on their destiny. And you saw that in the high school teacher. He's caught in that threshold in a high school gym. He doesn't cross. Venus has the ability to cruise through thresholds. She goes through doorways, over the edges of buildings. She has a strong spirit and an open mind and a beautiful heart. So that combination allows her to drift through the scenes. And those are very purposeful, those frames and those fence lines. You see William pause at that fence line at the end of toward the end of the film. That fence line is his threshold. He looks back at the house, that's his life. He crosses the threshold. If he walks through the fence, he's going to die. He knows that. And in the first part of the film, almost exactly, precisely the same distance in as it is out, there's a line of tombstones, exactly where that fence line was, that he stands on this side of. So he's alive until he crosses the threshold. So that threshold for her was the only time in the film where she questions. She knows she loves this guy. It's been in the stars her whole life. It was her dad's dream. But she questions herself because she knows she has another destiny. She has to go out and pursue this dream, which ultimately will bring her back to him, or he chases her. So she steps over the house, over the edge of the roof, and the wind, the forces of nature blow her back, and that's when you see the smile on her face. She knows that she can't deny her fate, and that's what that moment is all about. Thanks for the question.
We really can't, they're not letting me. I want to hear them too, but
The last one.
we can't because they're telling me no, because it'll just go on and on. But I want to say thank you, a tremendous thank you to all of you. It's such a great pleasure not just to speak about the film, but to hear your thoughts on it. Danny Glover, Tantu Cardinal, Mike Wade, and Norry Niven, the director. Thank you all. I'm sure they won't mind if you come and ask them quietly. No, not ask the question.